Stations.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We have a loaded show for you today at 2:35. The fabulous Janice Valentine, a attorney here in town, will be with us. 3 o'clock, I hope to have Tim Kreinbrink and Senator Jesse Green here. The scraps are over in Calhoun County. Representative Mike Sexton, he's just not going to be on the show. He's still mad. I think he's got a case of, well, I'm the assistant majority leader for the northwest corner of the state, and get back, Jack. So I guess I just got to get back. I have to accept the fact that maybe the scrapster isn't going to be on the show anymore. Well, okay, I've accepted it. Anyway, Kreinbrink and Green, hopefully, in the 3 o'clock hour, and then we'll have Nevin Mulholland and Randy Kuhlman, and we will be talking sports. And that's a very exciting hour of the week when the three of us are on the air, as I try to once again steer Kuhlman and Mulholland toward correct thinking in sports. They are resisting. Hank Aaron is dead. Henry Aaron is dead. Henry Aaron is alive, and now Henry Aaron is dead. You should shout that from the mountaintops when such a man dies. Henry Aaron is dead at the age of 86. Be careful when you say that, lest it be a lie and Henry Aaron comes back and makes you pay, because there were very few human beings on earth like Henry Aaron. He may have been alone in his class. And if what I just said sounded familiar, there's a reason. It was in the old movie Cleopatra. Roddy McDowell was the actor who recited those lines. You wouldn't think, Roddy was a great, I enjoyed Roddy, but he was a little on the squirrely side, you know. You wouldn't think he would get things like that to say in a movie, but he pulled it off. He did. Henry Aaron was born in Alabama 86 years ago. Now, for all you little white people out there who claim to be woke and you're marching in BLM protests and you claim oppression, or you're fighting oppression on behalf of black people, let me tell you something right now. There are very few people on this earth left, black people. Very few people who were oppressed like Henry Aaron was. And he rose to the top of his profession, and he will never be forgotten by a baseball fan ever. He led by example when it came to race relations. He wasn't loud and proud like Muhammad Ali, although I was a great admirer of Muhammad Ali and appreciated his courage and self-sacrifice. Henry Aaron could be seen at the March on Washington and other civil rights demonstrations, smiling and pointing the American flag, or pointing to the huge crowd as if to say, yes, change is coming. Change is coming. As Sam Cooke sang, a change is going to come. It did. It did. So little white people out there, remember, you have not suffered. You have not been oppressed as Henry Aaron was in one day. I would say this to most of the black people in the United States of America or on the planet. You do not know oppression and ugliness and hateful racism like a little boy in Alabama over 80 years ago. I don't understand it. I know I'm a white person, but I've seen a lot of ugly racism in my life. And I can't relate to it like any black person can, of course. But Henry Aaron, I don't know if he, like all geniuses, like all people who are geniuses, and Henry Aaron was a genius, a person of great talent, an artist. He just seems to have something in him where he hears the words and he sees the ball coming and he hits it over the fence 714 times. And by the way, the last few weeks and months, in 1974, when Henry Aaron obviously was going to break Babe Ruth's home run record, he received death threats regularly, hateful, racist letters. This is when I was a young man. I was a veteran of foreign wars. So it's not so far back in our history. These things happen. It didn't appear Henry Aaron missed a beat. He didn't seem to be bothered one bit. The same old dead ahead expression. Some pitchers have described facing off against Henry Aaron. And he would just get to the plate and swing and move the bat around, swing it back and forth a couple of times. Then he'd fix you with that stare. It wasn't angry. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't excitable. It wasn't happy. It was just a dead ahead glare, like I'm going to hit the ball you throw me clear into the next county. And a lot of times he did. He was a remarkable person. If you're looking for a role model, Henry Aaron wouldn't be a bad place to start. Let me tell you again, you stand some of these woke warriors next to Henry Aaron, and they would melt immediately by his heat. All these people out there, wherever they are, screaming about oppression. They never knew oppression like Henry Aaron did. They want to be free. My God, they are free. Henry Aaron knew how it felt to be treated like little more than a slave. His parents knew. I hope we build a statue of Henry Aaron, and there's statues, of course, around Atlanta, around the stadium in Atlanta, of Henry Aaron. And I hope in 20 years, when the culture changes again, some damn fool doesn't think, hey, let's tear down these statues of Henry Aaron, because he wasn't radical enough. He wasn't forceful enough. He didn't do enough. When Henry Aaron was 20 years old in the South, and a black man tried to be real vocal, he usually wound up dead or badly beaten or a lesson taught to him, as the rednecks would say. How many of you woke warriors out there can claim anything like that would happen to you? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The police were oppressing us. No, they weren't. They were trying to keep you from breaking car windows, you little zombies. Really, seriously. Come on. If any woke warrior can claim to know about the life of Henry Aaron, or to have done more in 10 of their lives than Henry Aaron did in one, please call me now at 955-1400. Yes, please call and tell me about your oppression and how it was equal to Henry Aaron, and how you know how Henry Aaron must have felt when he was getting death threats. When he quietly and with great dignity and class, that's what struck me about Henry Aaron. He had great dignity and class and a profound appreciation for how lucky he was. You don't hear that from the woke warriors. Everything is white people's fault. They're just bad, evil. Henry Aaron appreciated the decent white people that he met in life. Not that he would take any guff off the rednecks who wanted to insult him because they were racist. He just appreciated the decent people that he met. He would, by the way, fix those rednecks with that famous Henry Aaron glare the pictures were talking about. I've seen pictures of him all day since it was announced he passed away. And when he had that kind of stooped over batting stance with a bat behind his head, it wasn't a batting stance you saw in a lot of people. But he would be looking at the picture, in those eyes just burned a hole in the picture. Burned a hole in the picture. He was a straight out power hitter, and he liked to hit fastballs like every power hitter does. And a lot of times he struck out. But he will be remembered, and this this is a great tribute to Henry Aaron and to our country. In 1957, not a lot of people remember 1957. I was just a little boy, but I remember feeling very uncomfortable with the way that some white people addressed black people. You know, you're not very well thought out when you're 6 years old. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that Henry Aaron won the Most Valuable Player award with the Milwaukee Braves, not the Atlanta Braves, the Milwaukee Braves, and took him to the 1957 World Series. He and a guy by the name of Warren Spahn. Warren Spahn was another one of those guys who was very humble, as was Stan Musial. There's just, there have been some and I still miss those ball players who could carry themselves with grace and dignity and left it on the field. If they had something to say, they picked up a bat and got out there and talked loud. That's what Henry Aaron did. I don't shoot my mouth off a lot, he seemed to say. If you want to know what I got to say, watch this. Watch this. Yeah, I'm an old baseball fan. I've been a baseball fan all my life. I love the game. And today, one of the greatest of all time in my life. There was a lot of talk about Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and their great home run race. And they were great ball players, especially Mantle. But I don't ever want to forget Henry Aaron. And I'll never want to forget Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks hit over 500 home runs. I mean, those guys didn't play for great teams, especially Banks. Believe me, I was a Cub fan most of my life, too. And no, Banks, a first-rate fielder, great hitter, did not play for a top-rated team. And other than that brief season in Milwaukee, Henry Aaron didn't play for any great teams. Those were great years, great baseball years. And there were years when you could see the country grow. And yes, I believe sports can change culture. Now, I don't feel as LeBron James feels and other black athletes today who want to blame Whitey on everything. I don't know what Mr. Aaron thought. Maybe he blamed Whitey too. But he went out there and did it anyway. And I'll tell you again and again and again, most people living today have no idea of the oppression suffered by Henry Aaron and other great black players of that time. Jackie Robinson was picked by the Brooklyn Dodgers because he had great talent, but because he was pretty tough and he was pretty disciplined. If you think Jackie Robinson, and this is a great myth in baseball, if you think Jackie Robinson took a lot of guff as the first black player in baseball, you're right. But the myth is that he suffered in silence. Jackie would fight you. Jackie would fight you. Maybe the only black person on both teams, and very few black people in the stands, if any. He'd get up and fight. He would get up and fight. I mean, he got spiked. He got all those things. Players tried to bully him, especially, what was his name? I can't remember. I'll find out later and I'll tell you. But there was one player in particular, a Southern player. I shouldn't hang this on Southerners all the time because there was plenty of racism to go around in the entire country. But one player in particular just tortured Jackie Robinson, did everything he could to drive him out of the league. Robinson wouldn't take it, just wouldn't take it. No, I don't believe with the younger ball players who have associated with themselves with Black Lives Matter. I don't trust Black Lives Matter. I don't think they're a credible group. I think they're anti-Semitic. I think they have ties to gangs. No, I don't trust them at all. And, I'm an older man and I'm nostalgic for a time that's gone in Henry Aaron, the great Henry Aaron. has reminded me again that time is marching on in ways that I don't always care for. Yes, it is. But I want to say to Mr. Aaron, wherever he is, I really admired you, and I think you changed the game, and I think you changed the world, and you changed me when I was very little. Thank you, sir. And I look forward to seeing you one day.
Missing out on value during a market rally might be one of the fastest ways to lose money within farming. With recent run-ups in grain prices, it might be easy to think